Yo, 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 what is up, guys? Aiden Smith and Joel Mercado here with the Paint Your Path podcast. I don't know what episode we're on right now, but we're trying to rack them up and get these dialed out and dialed in for you guys. Excited to be back. How you doing, Joel? You got a fresh cut?
Yeah, we're just talking about wolfing. The term
Mm-hmm.
wolfing. Yeah, it was the beard was a little wild and the cuts looking pretty fresh. So I mean, I just have bedhead, but it's all good.
Dude, I love the green background. Reminds me of the birds, you know?
Yeah.
It's our season, and it's Red October for the Phillies.
I know, man. I definitely I get excited when the Phillies are playing, so I can't wait.
Oh my gosh, dude. Starting tomorrow. I can't
Yep.
wait. I'm excited.
Yeah.
Yeah, before we get into anything, I have a couple shout outs. There's been some interaction on social media, and we really, really appreciate that. That's kind of like the lifeblood of like our community. And, we're super grateful for anybody that chimes in. So I have a couple shout outs. I have Smooth Finishes Houston, who tapped in, subscribed, and just commented to let us know. Shout out to you. And then we have Alfred Olguin, I believe.
Oh,
He,
Alfred. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, you know Alfred.
I met him through on my personal page the other week. Yeah,
Beautiful.
that's awesome, man. Shout out, shout out.
Yeah, bro. So, and then we got Jesus Castro, and he has a topic that he wants us to dive into, and kind of the gist of it is like power dynamics. When the
Mm.
student becomes the teacher, and kind of how like that can play a weird role when it comes to like blue collar jobs and the trades and stuff. And when a manager comes in and starts like, hey, you should do it like this, and then people come up in arms. There's always that like you have to intervene at times to really set kind of the standard and say, hey, like this is the company standard, but then you got those guys that think their way is the only way, or that kind of thing. So it always is funny company to company, seeing that play out. And also what I've seen is like when I try to make changes with like the people that I'm coaching, it's like, yeah, well, I don't know if I can put this process into place because my guys might not follow it. And it's kind of one of those
Mm.
things like you're stuck in a hard spot, but you have to make those tough decisions. And sometimes it's better to just get new life in there if guys don't really want to move.
100%.
Yeah.
I love that you mentioned that because it's the problem that happens with certain organizations is when you go from like a new position, it does take the leader to say, hey, this is what so and so's role is moving forward. And usually when they don't empower that or pass that baton on, and then they just throw someone in and they're just like, who's this? That's the
Yeah.
problem, right? So
Mm-hmm.
we call it roles, goals, expectations. So it's like, hey, we're identifying this new person's in this role. The goal for them is because they have this specific, I would say, skill set. So when you're solidifying someone and empowering them and giving them like the torch, right? Then the team kind of starts to follow through,
Yep.
right? And typically in that case, I usually tell the leader, the new leader that's taking over in that position, I tell them, hey, come in with grace first, right? Be graceful with your men, be graceful for your guys, and really get to know them, have them get to know you so that they can be like, okay, I'm building that trust factor with my team. And I think it's really important to understand that you don't just have someone jump right in, they're barking orders, they're like, who's this
Yeah.
guy? Right?
Mm-hmm.
It derails your culture, it derails all these things. And it's like, it's okay to step into a role and watch and actually just get to know people,
Yep.
and that set new expectations or firmer expectations to then get them to follow,
Yeah.
right?
That's an
So,
interesting thing you said too, like culture, right? It's like a lot of people, they don't they're not at the point where they can even develop a culture per se. It's
mhm,
like that
mhm.
wasn't even a thought process. It was like, hey, I got jobs, I'm too busy, I need to bring new guys on, we're growing. And it's like that culture thing is sometimes missed. And then as you kind of go about growing, getting more jobs in, it's like you try and go back and say, no, we have to set standards here. We have to follow a certain way, and kind of, usually the leader has his like own relationship as he's going with each
Mhm.
individual, whether it's a crew, person, production manager. And then the other people, it's kind of like they have to figure out their own dynamics, within the company.
Yeah.
So well-run organizations try to go from like top down and say like, hey, these are the certain things we have to abide by no matter what, like across the board, you know?
Mhm.
And then the rest will come as far as our duties and how we kind of go about them following that standard. And that's really the best way to kind of go about it, right? Like,
Yeah.
and that kind of ties into like bringing in new life, or having those guys that have been there for a while. It's like when you're trying to overcompensate a culture when guys have been doing it the same way forever, it's tough to get them bought in, you know?
Yeah.
So how do you go about like going, do you give the guy that's been there for a while the shot to move up, even though he's not like kind of bought into the culture you're trying to integrate into the company, or do you bring the new life in, the new blood, to try and like zap everybody into it and bring new, like,
Yeah.
blood
So
into it?
that's a great question. So I always try to hire within, right? Because it's like I want people to see that the opportunities within your organization.
Yeah.
However, if I do have to bring an outsider in, I would say it's because internally things aren't being fixed or being taken care of the way they need to. So you're constantly searching who's going to be that next best leader. And in fact, I highly recommend all organizations to focus on always looking for the next best person. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that is in the preparation of who's this person that's going to fit the culture and take this ship where it needs to go. Because you notice people get too comfortable and then they start to fall off and they're not following processes, and then they start kind of doing their own thing within your organization, and then you start to go seeing those results going backwards, right? Sometimes you have to shake it up. But like right now we're promoting two guys in our company that
Beautiful.
are helpers to be foremans, right?
Mm-hmm.
So kind of our process is we want to get we do three-man crews, right? We like to have three people. The one person's apprentice, the second person is like a brush and roll guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Someone that can definitely be molded to become the next crew lead or foreman, however you want to word that. And that's the opportunity, right? It's like, hey, you start off as an apprentice, we're going to teach you our way. Then you become a helper, which now you're
Mm-hmm.
learning how to brush, roll, mask, do all the things properly. And then we start to teach you how to spray and get ready to become a foreman, right?
Yeah.
And when you do it that way, the culture starts to get really good, right? Like
Yeah.
the guys get excited. They're like, oh, dude, that's so cool. I heard you're going to become a crew lead. Like, I can't wait for me to be that
Yeah.
person, right? But there is expectations too, right? I do a 90-day probation period. I say, hey, I'm going to give you the tools, set you up for success to be the crew lead. You have what it takes, but I want to see how you manage the pressure, how you manage the leadership now. We're going to give you the guidance. We're going to give you the tools,
Yeah.
but you have 90 days to fit in that role. As long as your effort is going really well, we'll keep training you. We'll keep focusing you on that position.
Yeah.
If you're not ready to take that on, we'll know in 90 days and we'll put you back in as a helper for now. And that's okay, because it's saying, hey, you're just not ready for that. We don't want to set you up for failure. But you have to measure that, because if you just throw someone in and just say, that's your position, that's what it is, and there's no, hey, you got 90 days to prove you can make this happen, with our processes,
Mm-hmm.
you tend to let things go for too long because you
Yeah.
got complacent as well.
I think it is super important to have a supervisor on every single job, like
100%.
somebody who can take the lead, talk to the customer, present the work order, get things signed, kind of move the, crew along, and then actually designate those roles. Like, hey, you are the supervisor, right? You're
Yes.
responsible for XYZ. This guy is your helper. This guy's the apprentice. Hey, he's going to be training, doing the taping, all that kind of prep stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, that's what I've seen too, as far as getting the most efficient crews, going, because they can handle three guys, they can handle a sizable house, right?
Mm-hmm.
All
Mm-hmm.
the way down to quick 1 day jobs too, and get them done pretty fast. So
100%.
having that set up is crucial. And then you get that hierarchy, right? I'm working towards being a helper. I'm working towards being a supervisor, getting that bonus, becoming, getting those different incentives. I
Yep.
remember I was a supervisor on a government job when I worked for CertaPro, and they literally hit me with the craziest bonus. I had like the best Christmas ever, because it was like I had led the crew to under the hours, and now we're like getting this crazy like $5,000 bonus. I was like, thank God. But
That's
like
huge,
those
man.
incentives, don't work or aren't available unless, you have that in place, and then you're struggling to figure out, how it all works. And then
Mm-hmm.
another thing you mentioned was like, you have to make sure that they're ready, right? Because some people might not be a fit for the role. Maybe somebody's been a great painter supervisor for a long
Mm-hmm.
time. They're thinking about the production manager role, but then they get in it and they're like, this isn't for me. Just give
Yeah.
me a couple more bucks to paint, I'm good to go with my crew. Like that actually happened recently with one of the guys that I'm coaching. Actually, the guy that was on the last podcast, his name's Ben. And first time in his career, he's passed. He's probably gonna do 1.25,
Dude,
past
that's
seven
awesome.
figures for the first
Wow.
time. It's amazing.
Ben,
But
good for you, man.
dude, great
Yeah.
feeling. And like I just like shouted him out in the chat, and just everybody's rooting for him. It's awesome. But
Yeah.
he had a guy that's been his guy forever, and he was like, I need to at least give him the shot.
Mm-hmm.
Like I know I need a production manager, and if I don't give him the shot, I feel like it would be bad on me because we've had this relationship. He helped me grow, blah blah blah. But then he got there, and that's exactly what happened. It just wasn't a good fit. He wasn't mature enough. Great painter, great supervisor, but the whole like numbers, margins, production, leadership, meetings, just not the right fit. So now
Yeah.
we're on the search for like hiring outside of the organization, because that's the best way to fill that role right now, given the resources available.
Yeah. At least you gave him that opportunity, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it's like, he can't say he didn't try to put him in there. And, it's always important to put the right people in the right seats and knowing what they're best at. And that's what makes everything so functional for a business, right?
Yep.
I'm constantly moving seats. I'm like, hey, like, it's not that I don't think you're great at what you do. I just don't think you're great at this one thing.
Yep.
And, you're going to wait 5 years to say that? No, you need to kind of know pretty quickly and go, you know what, this person's coachable. That's awesome. I'll keep working at them. But if they're just like, hey, it's just not working, you'd hate to lose a great person just because they're in the wrong seat. So
And
you
that
got to be
works
aware of
with
that.
vendors too. That
Mm-hmm.
definitely works with vendors too, right? Because like
Yep.
just because you like the guy or they've been working with you for a while, if I come in and I'm looking at what you got going on, the numbers of the vendor and stuff like that, it might be time to cut them loose.
Yeah.
Like there
I
was a couple
love that you
people,
mentioned that.
man, that they were getting like financial advice. Like it was like a firm that charges monthly. They give you some reports, and they kind of give you like, hey, if you were going through a rough time at one point, we'll help you with that. Understand more numbers, become more comfortable, and it's like a monthly subscription. It was like $700 for one of my clients, and he was like roughly small, but he just got into money issues, so he felt like he needed it and would help him out. And I was like, bro, you don't need this. Like I'll take you some basic things. I'll give you some apps you can use and stuff like that. But like it was just extra.
Mm-hmm.
So we had to cut it off, even though it was a legitimate company. There's other use cases that people would use and allow that company to come in and be a great resource for them. But for that guy, it just wasn't worth it, given where he was.
Right. I love that you mentioned that too. That's a whole nother topic, right? But
Mm-hmm.
it's like something I tell people to be weary of. It's like, hey guys, like be careful on how many opinions you're taking on and different processes. Like with my mentorship, I mean, gosh, I've had the same mentor for 12 years. You know what I mean? It's like I listened to one voice
Yep.
for 12 years. And then finally I was like, hey, he moved on and I moved on. And I said, okay, I'm finding the next mentor. And then the next goal that I'm trying to achieve with that person that can help me get there.
Mm-hmm.
So, I try to be careful on how much I listen to many things because I know there's a certain way I'm trying to go and I find those individuals to help me get to those paths. So like I love the fact that we're doing this podcast because it's like we're constantly giving literally free advice
Mm-hmm.
based off of what we've seen. And then we meet with so many different people that we're like, hey, I foresee this being done because I've seen this with the last 5 people.
Yep.
Be wary of that. Be careful. It's not that I'm saying that I know everything. It's just that data is everything, right? It tells
Yep.
me a story, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I always advise on that. So I love the fact that you mentioned that because they're giving financial advice and you're like, you
Mm-hmm.
don't really need that. I can help you with this and completely shift this for you. You could probably 2x your income too, just by changing a couple things.
Yep.
So it's imperative.
I think fit's a good, a more important part of it too, right? It's got to be a good fit for where you're at in your company, right? It could be very beneficial, but you might not be ready for it. You know what I mean?
Mm,
Like there are times that, I'm working with a guy early on in his career, early on in his business, do I really want to overwhelm him with the expense of having something like DripJobs with job costing production rates, and then having to, overwhelm him with all the data with production rates and constantly and he doesn't even know the basics of the painting business yet.
Right.
It's like maybe we start with a
Right.
way lower tier app and work our way up, right?
Yep.
Like it'll all work in phases because you're not going to conquer the world and have a perfect setup business overnight,
Yeah.
especially with a rookie that's like still trying to understand how to like communicate properly in sales and stuff. And it's like tighten that stuff up, simplify what you're not good at, go forward with your strengths, and then that will kind of build the momentum, get that money that you need to kind of take to the next step. As you get more comfortable, you're like, okay, let me dabble into production rates. Let me dabble into job costing, right? Because those numbers and stuff at first, if you're a guy just with a brush, maybe a helper or something like that, you don't need all those extra bells and whistles. You just
Mm-hmm.
need to get it going first,
Yeah. 100%. And it's the consistent game, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
once they hit this level consistently, then they can add one more thing to then level that up. And I think a lot of people try to do too many things too fast, right?
Exactly.
It's no different than like saying, hey, I want to change my diet and then my workout and my business and then my personal development and then this and this. You have so many things you're trying to attack, and then you get good at nothing, and then you feel defeated, and then you blame everything else but yourself. It's like, listen, keep it simple. Focus on the simplicity of that for a long time. And then there's layers to this game, and you keep adding to it, and you'll notice it never ends.
Yeah.
It's a constant growth, right? So I love that you mentioned that too, man. It's like these are all great topics. I love this. It's been a while since we've been on together. So,
Dude, and you're looking thin, bro.
lost a lot of weight, bro.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
So remember I got sick, right?
Yeah.
And getting sick, it freaked me out. I ain't gonna lie. Usually I'm pretty like the guy that's like, yeah, I'll be all right. Nah, I don't need to go to the hospital. Nah, don't worry about it. I've been like that my whole life. And this is twice that I have had a flare up in my stomach like this. And so cut out alcohol, went to like a very lean protein diet. I lost like 7 pounds already.
Wow.
I haven't worked out again since I got sick, but that's probably in the next couple of weeks. And then no different than what we're talking about, right? Like when I got into the business side of things, I focused so much on mindset
Mm-hmm.
and the business. I forgot about my health. I just completely ignored it, right? It finally caught up to me. So it's like, I'm like, okay, everything else is going well. I'm just going to let that on auto. I'll pay attention to certain things, but I won't go so crazy on it anymore. And I'm just going to dial in my health. So like blood work, my doctors. So hopefully in the next 2-3 weeks, you guys will see another change physically because I'm definitely dialing it in, and we'll see how that looks.
God bless you, man.
Yeah,
Thank you. Honestly, when you talk about like, hey, my health is like not a priority, like when you're grinding, right? You kind of like almost like forget about it. You're just like so dialed
100%.
in day to day, bro. Some of my like worst physiques were when I was trying to get my painting business going initially,
Yeah.
When I failed 3 to 4 times, it was like I looked depleted. I would bulk up and, be jacked when I had a regular job. One of my jobs, it was a corporate job. They had a gym in there. Every lunch, I'm in there pumping it out. I'm like, let's go. And then, I leave, start this business up. I turn into this like flabby, skinny fat guy. And it's like, Aiden, you look tired. You look beat. I got the scruff all over. And it's like, dude, I've been on the tools. I've been grinding, running around all day. And it's like, that's what happens, because it's a draining business. Even today, super long day, dude. I had thoughts. I was like, I don't even know if I want to do this pod. I'm drained and stuff. But I was like, you know what? I can't. I need to continue and be consistent. You know what I mean? You just have to like re-energize yourself. Luckily, I've been pretty consistent with the gym. I'm trying to give up alcohol as well. It's going to be tough because there's times where I just want to just sit back, watch an NFL game, just drink a beer. That's like my happy place.
Let me tell you something about that real quick, right? Because like, it doesn't mean I quit alcohol. I just right now I'm not drinking it because I got to come back from recovery, right?
Yeah.
But a lot of people think, boom, I need to cut it out 100%. And what happens is actually there's a psychological thing that happens, right? So it's like, it's okay for you to just dial it back versus trying to get rid of it all at once. Because when you try to get rid of it all at once, then you binge.
Yeah. It's like a rebound effect.
Yeah. It's almost like, let's say you go 3 days hard. You're like, oh, I haven't drank 100%. For 3 days. And then all of a sudden, like on a Friday, you get like a Friday, your crews start calling you like, hey, boss, I dropped some paint and this and that. And then you're getting hit with all this stress and you're just like, yo, I'm going to polish this bottle of vodka or something.
Yeah.
So you went from 0 literally to 100 on the opposite end versus just going, hey, you know what? I deserve and I want to. I can have this glass of vodka tonic or whatever. So like we do teach those things too, right? And even my nutritionist, he tells me, he's like, hey, Joel, always remember, I'm never going to tell you to stop something 100%. I'm just going to tell you to lower the amount of consumption. Yeah. So that way you never feel like the need to be like, oh, I need more of that now that I haven't had it. It's such a bad, vicious cycle you run into.
Like moderation is key in everything, you know? 100%. And I'm not gonna lie, I have like an addictive personality. Like it's like I have a weird, so I also have like a loyalty, like obsession, right? For me, it's like the people that have been there for me, that loved me, that like, no matter what I did in my life, they supported me. Like I will always be there for them. Same, you know, vice versa, right? Mm-hmm. Even it goes to little things like my fantasy football team.
Yeah,
they're like, "Yo, trade me this player. He sucks," and I'm like, "Yeah, but he's my guy, and we're running with him."
I love that, dude.
That's really how it is, bro. So like, for me, when I get it something that I like right now, Fairlife protein shakes, you can't. I won't buy another protein. I don't care if they double the price. I'm just going to stick with that. So like when it comes to stuff like drinking or like just anything that's like overstimulating, it's like I got to be careful, you know, that I don't get too much of a habit. And I think that's what happens with the business as well. I'm trying so hard to be successful. I'm being a perfectionist. I'm like going in, giving it my all. And then I realize like, damn, I'm kind of beat right now. And I go through this slump of not going to the gym and blah, 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 you know?
Yeah.
It's just weird. Like you said, it's a rebound effect, but I want to show you something real quick. I just sent to my wife because it was like a couple of days ago. I was like, I'm not drinking. I feel like crap when I do it because I went golf with my buddy. Felt like crap. I was super hot. My head felt like a migraine. I was like, why do I even do this to my body? You know what I mean? I could have enjoyed this as much as possible without drinking. So I sent her this. And dude, for anybody listening, it's literally just a beer and it says accept, decline, like a phone call.
That is awesome, man. You got to send that to me.
I said to her, I was like, I'm so ready to hit accept.
Man, that's but here's the funny part that you say that there's a commonality in entrepreneurs too. We are very addictive personalities.
Yeah.
If you really pay attention to entrepreneurs, one thing we all have in common is the addiction of winning, the addiction of being the best at what we do, addiction of, you know, really just going all in and whenever we focus on, when we're like hyper focused. And, you know, it's one of those things that right now I'm focusing on what actually it's that video I sent you earlier with Sean Whalen. He talks about the core 4. And I've really been trying to dial into that because it's like when people ask me about balancing, like they're like, oh, do you have balance in life? I'm like, hell no, I don't have balance in my life. I'm always balancing, right? It's like scales. I look at it. I go, hey, if I go so far into the business, something's going to fail. You know that already. If I go so far in my relationships, something's going to fail somewhere else. If I go so far in whatever I'm looking at, something's going to be lost. So the core 4 focuses on relationships, which is one within self first. And then everybody else, right? Business, which is called production, is what he calls it. Business is obviously understanding like what you're doing within your business. And then you also have your mind. So focusing on your personal development, things you're doing for your mind. And then there's another one. It's trying to remember. So you got mind, body.
Okay.
So your physicality. So now you got your spiritual, your physical, your business, and your relationships. If you focus on balancing all 4 of those, they call it the core 4. You'll always have that constant balancing because you're focusing on 25% here, 25% here, 25% here, 25% here. And it allows you to not forget one section that's important because they're all important, right?
All equally important.
100%. And you focus on all of those, everything goes up together like this versus just this, you know? So that's kind of where I'm at. So you'll start noticing I'm probably going to be talking a lot about don't forget, because I got sick pretty hard, man. It was kind of scary.
Dude, That is scary, bro. Health is like number one, man. I remember I went to where was it? It was a Florida painter gathering hosted by Tanner, and Austin Hauser from Base Coat had a story, and he basically was like, this is what happened to me, and this is why I look at life differently. And if you follow him on his socials, he works out every single day. He has a gym in his house, and he does
Yep.
like a time lapse of him doing like sit ups, and like it's like day 287 out of 365. He's doing like push ups and stuff.
Wow.
Dude, he's a monster. But basically, what he was saying was, he was way in his business, same thing, just like us, deep in. He was neglecting his health. And then he was diagnosed with some type of brain tumor, I think it was.
Oh my
And he
gosh.
had
Wow.
like, vertigo, like crazy, rushed to the hospital. And they basically said two things, like, we can do radiation, you could potentially die because it's like at your brain, or we can do open brain surgery, try to remove it and whatnot. And he said like he didn't even know if he was going to live because there was a chance if you open up the brain, right? It's kind of like one of those things. And dude,
Yeah.
obviously, he's here now, he's good, but like that was like a super scary time for him, and it was like things can change like that. And now he has like slight loss of hearing, so if you see him, he has like a hearing aid sometimes. So, but he's, dude, in phenomenal shape. You can tell he just looks at everything through a super positive lens. His team is
Yeah.
super tight. He gives a great, like, what I've seen for his clients and stuff like that. I mean, he's just an awesome, example of somebody that took their health like seriously and had a wake up call.
Wow.
That can
Isn't that
happen to any of us, bro.
any of us at any time? Doesn't
Yep.
matter age, doesn't matter even stresses. It could happen anyway. And it reminds me of a term, when you hear of whatever it takes, it's a term that's
Yep.
always thrown out there, right? That's what that means. You're like, dude, I could die tomorrow. When you really get in that mentality and go, let me attack all these great things that I know will help me stay and sustain in myself. It's crazy because when you start knocking on the door of death, you start to go, maybe I need to make some changes, right?
Yeah.
But man, thanks for sharing that story. I didn't know about that. So
It's
that's
crazy.
imperative, right? To pay attention to those things.
Powerful,
Yeah.
man. I think about it all the time. Like, it was one of those, like, speeches where you're like, damn, that like kind of changed me a little bit, the way I look at things and stuff.
Yeah.
Um, Another topic I wanted to touch on is something specific to like sales reps.
Okay.
So I've been going through like a whole sales rep like training thing, right? Like people, organizations, they don't even use me as their coach per se, but like they're just like, hey, can you please come out and like help us like with the sales reps, onboarding, training, interview,
Oh
whatever
yeah.
it
Yeah.
is. So basically, I have one client, and obviously I'm not going to say names or anything like that,
Of
but they
course.
brought somebody on, and we felt pretty good about them, right? It was like, good guy, relatively he looked presentable, right? That's like a big thing, especially like when you're posting somebody on social media and kind of like somebody that can talk and like represent the company.
Mm-hmm.
And he checked those boxes, but we just didn't know about like the whole construction side of things, like knowledge of kind of estimating and understanding those nuances. But we were like, you know what, we can train him, no problem.
Of course. Yeah.
But some of the traits kind of like he was displaying after, being with the company 2 months or so, just didn't seem like it was, I don't know, like bought in, right?
Mm.
Like, didn't feel
Mm-hmm.
like he had that dog in him.
Yeah.
Like, it was a big opportunity, right? You're going to make some great money with this company. They're doing some nice numbers. You're going to have a good life if you can just show up to these appointments, sell half decent, and you'll be fine. A lot of upside with the company and stuff like that. They're going into other ventures. But like, what are some qualities and traits you look for in salespeople that and that tells you, hey, this guy's going to be good. He's going to be fine. He's going to fit well.
I just had this conversation 2 days ago. Um,
Really?
so a lot of people may not agree with me on this. So hear me out, right? Because I have to really speak on this very quickly. I look for people that are hungry, people that have had things taken away from them. I pay attention to their story, and more than likely, I find someone. When I say this respectfully. I look for an individual that's a chameleon. And what I
Mm-hmm.
mean by that is someone from the street. And what I mean by that, you understand that, right?
Sure.
Some of our viewers and listeners are like, what I mean by that is give an opportunity to someone that's lost a lot of things in life. Because when they have an opportunity, those are usually the best salespeople, because they're like, I don't want to go back to that.
Yeah.
It's almost like a non-trainable thing. They caught so many things when they're out in the streets, watching things happening to them, dealing with these certain situations, whether it's mental abuse, physical abuse, being kicked out of the home, whatever the situation they've ever been in. And if you resonate with this, they're usually my best salespeople.
Wow.
Because I tell them, listen, I can't teach that hunger, right? Like, I was one of those guys. I am always hungry. I can't teach hunger to somebody. I can teach skill to anybody. So the difference is when you have someone, like you said, the dog in them, the dog is because the dog has literally been caged up. The dog has literally been mistreated. No different than when you hear pit bulls, they say pit bulls are bad animals, when it's like, no, it's the trainer who trained them. Right? It's no different if I put a human being in a cage for a long time. What do you think is going to happen to them? So when I look for people like that, they're the best salespeople. And I've learned that in the 20 years of my sales, that's always the best person I can train, because I can't teach them to want it more than me. Right. And it's wild, man. When I see that, I can already tell someone's character immediately, and I can just be like, man, that guy's going to crush it, or that lady's going to crush it. They're hungry. Right now, you just got to teach them the systems. And the reason why, notice I said chameleon, you can teach them to be professionals.
Yeah.
Right.
That's true.
And when you really start to teach them that and give them that opportunity, they'll never go back. They'll be like, I'm going to be the one. I'm the one that's going to change the trajectory of my life and my family's life. Whereas when most people have a lot of great things, and I don't want to knock on this, I know a lot of great people that have had a great lifestyle, and they're dogs too. They're amazing. They're just very rare.
Sure.
Right. And when you find those guys, hold on to them too, because those are rare ones. But
or
I don't ever
want
want
to business.
And they're starting to learn through that. And they're like, oh crap, like I have to be that person, which is cool. Like, I don't want to take away from people's lives. I've just noticed there's a human behavior behind that that I can identify quickly, that it's easier, I would say, to teach them sales, because they're the ones that are going to be so hungry to get it. But then you deal with other bad habits that you need to train and break them out of as well. So, but it's a great question. And I had that conversation because one of my clients, that was that same person at one point, and they're an owner and they're successful. And they're like, we are all kind of the same type of individuals. I'm like, well, yeah, that's why we operate the way we operate. That's why we understand each other. Right. So
it's almost like you got to catch entrepreneurs before they hit their peak.
Yes. And make them an entrepreneur, right? Like, give them the opportunity and be like, dude, you can do that here. Let's win together, right?
Become part of my team. We'll make sure that, whatever potential you feel like you have or could grow into, that can be done within our team and with our team, whether that's ventures down the line, whatever, that's huge, man. So, yeah, I mean, honestly, bro, like, that was me at one point, right? It was like, for me, I needed something that was a little more uncapped, right? I needed something that was like, I could go out and control my own income, right? That was very attractive to me. That's why when I joined cell phone sales, which, shout out to cell phone salesmen, these guys, there's some dogs in that industry, all right? Yeah. And they usually level up pretty quick and have a pretty good career. But when I worked for Verizon, I worked for an all commission company, and I had turned into it was like the business team. It was like the first time they ever put together like a national business team. I was on that squad. We were going out closing like business deals, but like that was door-to-door sales essentially, right? It was like elevated door-to-door sales. You had to go knock business to business, try to make relationships. And like that person that's willing to, soon as they get to the job, start booking appointments, start getting people to come into the store, right? Just like sales reps for companies. If I'm seeing somebody calling property management companies, following up right away, making sure that they're doing all the things to get these deals across the line, like, you're the guy, Yeah. We can teach the estimating, we can teach the nuanced objection handling, stuff like that. But I need you to put in the effort to get in contact with these people and actually trying to get people across the finish line. So now your paycheck can go up and then we can get deals across the table. You know what I mean?
Here's the craziest part, dude. Like, I love that you mentioned that, because like I used to work for T-Mobile in Philly when I was like 18. Yeah. So I get it. Right. And I've always been attracted to not having a limited, like, I think salaries are like a death sentence.
Mm-hmm.
And I like not feeling capped or limited. It actually drives me to know I can have an unlimited amount of finances and how I create that, right? So I love that you share that, because it's important that whoever you're interviewing, you'll know that based off their goals.
Mm.
And I've mentioned this before in the past. I'm like I would ask that question too with that sales rep. Did your client ask what were their goals? Like, what were they trying to achieve financially? What were they trying to achieve within the next year or 5 years? Because I think it's imperative to attach their vision with yours
Mm-hmm.
and show them, hey, I am the vehicle, I am the tool to get you to your vision,
Yeah.
but you need to be aligned with mine. And when those two coincide, we see success together, right? And, a lot of organizations I've noticed don't even ask that simple question like, hey, what are your goals
Yeah.
financially? What are you trying to achieve within my organization? Perfect. If you do this and this, you'll get there
Mm-hmm.
with my vehicle.
Yeah.
So, that's important too, is to always, I ask even my helpers or apprentices, what are you trying to achieve?
Mm.
Because now I, me, Aiden, I'm really big about vision and imagery, right?
Yeah.
When they can imagine, and we just talked about this in my team, we were doing the book First Things First from Stephen Covey.
Dude, you
This
do some
past,
awesome trainings as well.
dude, my team's is getting sharper and sharper. I'm super excited. Like, I haven't focused so much like that. In this last year, I've just been so hyper focused on my teams. And we're doing First Things First, and it talks about passion and vision, right? It's like chapter 5 in the book or something like that. And identifying your vision. So they have a statistic out there. They said people that were at war, that were married, are the ones that typically survived the war because they had a purpose to survive for,
Mm.
versus those that were single or didn't have someone they really needed to go back home to, they didn't survive as much. So there's actually a statistic out there that talks about that. And when you talk about vision, right, when you're asking and when you're bringing people into your organization and you ask what their vision is and you help them imagine their vision with yours, notice how you said earlier, I didn't forget about that. You said the buy-in issue.
Yeah.
So when you can identify that with them and say, hey, listen, like, I want to know what you're trying to achieve. Like, no different than us about the podcast, right? Like, people probably think we're crazy because we're both coaches.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you and I align so much that it's like, it's hard not to do a podcast with you. I'm like, I have to do a podcast with this guy. Like, I have to work with him. Like, the alignment is ridiculous. Why would we not help each other out and at least help our people or our community?
Yeah.
Right. So our vision and everything has been so aligned. That's why you and I can operate the way we do. No different than having an employee within your organization. So,
Interesting.
Aiden, I got a question for you, man. You've been firing some good questions. I like it. So, like,
Yeah.
as I've
Hit
been
me.
speaking, I'm like, I got to ask my man a question, right?
Yeah.
How are you feeling now? Because, like, I'm kind of going episodes back, right? How are you feeling now being in Florida
Yeah.
and recreating another business in Florida? Because, like, I think a lot of people too find interest in that, because I've heard a lot of people ask me like, hey, do you think it's smart for me to open another place,
Yeah.
another state, maybe another city? They're trying to like scale without scaling within their business.
Yeah.
So I guess my specific question would be, how do you feel now that you've had a second chance to redo your business, right? I say second chance because you have your business in Philly.
Yeah.
Now you're like, okay, this is what I did in Philly. Now I'm in Florida. What's
Mm-hmm.
that look like right now for you? Like, are you enjoying that process? Like, are you
Yeah.
changing some things? Like, where are you at in that?
Yeah. So basically, right now, just like you said, right, when you put energy in certain, right, it's like cups, right? Just like you said, it's like 25% here, 25% there. Every time you go and do a different venture or different whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
something is lacking, and you're
Yes.
taking from somewhere else to put towards this, right? So for me right now, that's this Florida location, right? That has been like number one priority, right?
Yes.
Because in the beginning, especially, you have to go like full force and keep that momentum going, keep my guys busy, right?
Yep.
That's been like my main number one goal, get my guys busy. Thank God we were able to use all the strategies I teach to try and get to that. Even what you talk about, right? book them 4 to 5 weeks out. Make sure you have that
Yes.
work going. So we executed on that, which was awesome. And now we're looking on this next Monday to bring on a second crew. They're a sizable crew. They can go from
Nice.
3 to 5 guys. So like right now it's like, how can I'm not even looking at the marketing percentages. It's like, how can I get these crews busy, right? The money will come. We'll get to a point where we can settle down and say, okay, let's go 8 to 10% on marketing, right? Maybe spend a little bit more here because it's working. But for the most part, if we're hitting our margins on the jobs going forward and we can have goals and set appointments and stuff like that, now we know that this can continue to work long term. So get these 2 crews busy. By the end of next year, I want to have my first sales rep by the end of next year. So I can do the sales for now. What I've been doing is in the mornings from 8:30 to 12:30. Anything regarding my painting business, that's reserved for that time. If I have any extra, I'm dialing in production rates. I'm going into my marketing, creating new things. I hired a virtual assistant, so relatively cheap in the beginning to help me out with a bunch of different things. So I basically came at it from such a different angle than when I initially started in Philadelphia. And I'm telling you, the results are night and day, right? First 45 days, we sold about 60K. So just to have that and like really feel like the success coming like instantly was like huge. Whereas that took me 2 years in Philly, you know what I mean? For a 45 or whatever day span. So it's like, it's different, but it is taking away from my other ventures, right? I'm still there for my coaching clients. I had to limit it, right? Because I can't take on too many. So it's like 5 at a time, 100%. We do our weekly group calls. And then my Philly business, it's been taking a little bit of a hit. We're mostly just focusing on work orders rather than direct residential, but it's been keeping us fairly busy, but there are some hiccups. So my goal hopefully is by the beginning of next year to kind of dial in that a little bit. But you're juggling so many things. So even me explaining it, I'm sure people are like, how the F does he do that?
Dude, I love that you share that because I hope the listeners hear this, right? Listen to what Aiden said. It took 2 years to do what he did in 45 days. That's the power of once you have it dialed in, you save time, you save money, you save headaches, you carve out a faster success road. That's why you find a coach, right? Like they already did it multiple times. And I asked that question strategically because I already knew the answer without even knowing you to ask that question before, because I've never asked you this before. So like, I know that because your processes are so dialed in. So it's like, dude, you could do this 5 times over and the next time it'll be 30 days and the next time it might be 2 weeks because you're like, oh, I shifted this time and I moved this over here because this happened here. So no different when people ask me the same question. It's like, it just gets better every single time when you open a new location or do another venture. And when you skill yourself up on time management and understanding how to coach people and bringing the right people, because then they kind of take over, right? And then all you're doing is sprinkling a little bit of training and then they take over. So, dude, I'm excited for your sales rep to come on board. I'm excited for when you say you're bringing a production guy, because this is what's going to happen. In a year's time, when I ask you this question, I'll remember this. I'm going to talk about October 4th today, okay? Probably by September, October next year, I'm going to ask you. You know, I'm going to be like, hey, dude, like, let's talk about your production. You got a production manager yet? You're probably going to be like, yeah, dude, we're humming at this amount, and this is faster than I thought it would be. And I'm like, yeah, like I'm going to be so excited. I envision that for you already because I know that's exactly what's going to happen. You know what I mean? Because once you get your sales rep coming in, he or she is going to be rocking for you. You're going to have more time because you're not doing sales anymore.
Exactly.
Right? Notice what you said, 8:30 to 12:30. You just gained 4 hours, times that by 5 days. That's 20 hours a week you just gained. Bang. Amen. Then you bring in another person. Bang. Then you're like, Joel, I think I'm going to open another painting company. I'm like, Aiden, come on, man.
Dude, that's so funny. Yeah, I think one thing I've realized is don't extend yourself, right? Get your main business right. Get it so dialed in to where you know that when you do open up that new location, that it is going to be a guarantee home run. Have it planned out all ahead of time. Say, hey, these are the steps we're going to take, and this is how it's going to be in the first year. Like, have that already mapped out, you know? If
Yep.
you don't have that, you're literally winging it and you're going to lose a lot of money. You're going to be super stressed and it's not going to work out like you thought, right? So when
100%.
people say, "Hey, oh, I finally made my first, million with my business. I'm going to go look in this other location and try and open up a new business." It's like, if you step away and take that energy and put it towards this other endeavor, whatever, wherever that is, make sure that house doesn't crumble that you just built. You know what I mean? If you don't have that fully dialed in, people in charge, a hierarchy, meetings, the whole nine, it is going to crash and you're going to be like, why did I ever spend time and money trying to build this next thing when this isn't even dialed in? So
100%, man. Way to say that. That's absolutely correct. In fact, I had a guy, part of our community. Of course, we never say names, right? He wasn't a client of mine, but I always extend, just like you. We always just give free service.
yeah,
Like everyone always says, like, "Oh, dude, you and Aiden always just like answer our DMs, or like you guys just answer our questions without wanting to get paid for it." It's like, that's not what I do this for, right?
yeah,
Like,
mm-hmm,
granted, there's a fee for our services.
for sure.
However, we're here to help too. So like when someone asks us a question, I know you're just like me. We're like, yeah, man, how can I help you? Like,
Mm-hmm.
and this guy approached me. We did like a couple hour calls, right? Like I think a few of them. And I just genuinely was like, dude, stop trying to open in different states.
Yeah,
I can hear your stress. I can hear you're trying to like maximize all these things over here, but you haven't mastered this one right here. And in fact, if you got rid of these ideas and stop putting energy over here in these different states and just focused where you're at, your home base, you probably quadruple your income and then save more time. Your family would be happy. You'd be happy. You're chasing all these things. It's just a distraction
yeah,
to face the reality, right? And I'm like, listen, if I have to be that guy to tell you the truth, I will, because I care. Like I can hear it in your tonality. Like I'm stressing out even thinking about it right now when I talk about it. I'm like, dude, you're constantly just stressing yourself out for no reason.
yeah,
So master that. And I love that you mentioned it, because it's like, dude, once you have your home base done, now you're able to do a lot of different things,
yeah.
but focus on the home base. I love that.
I also think that people try and compensate for things that aren't working out, right? So it's like you start this
Yeah.
business, you get this job, whatever it is, and maybe it's not going as planned. So now they start up a side gig. Instead of just reinvesting and saying, you know what, it is tough right now. We are losing money. It's not going how I want to, but I'm going to learn more. I'm going to invest in myself, get some education to come back and make this even better, or ask for guidance to make this, you know what I mean?
Yep.
I was that guy, honestly. Like I would do things, whether business or a job, and say, you know what, it isn't going that well. I'm going to look for another job instead of buckling in and seeing the potential and carrying it through, right? Because that goes a long way when you
Yeah.
stay in the pocket and you kind of go through that bump in the road just to get over and see, damn, like how many times have you done something and then look back and said, damn, why didn't I just stay in there, continue to do it? What would have happened if I stay? Like, look at the people that are there and stuck it out. They're doing amazing now.
Yes.
And it's like
Yes.
there were so many times where I jumped off prematurely and I was just kicking myself for doing it.
Dude, I say there's a term that I call this. I say the grass isn't always greener on the other side. The grass is greener where you water it.
Boom.
Right. So that's exactly what you're mentioning right there. And it's like, I was a victim of that too. So, but here's the cool part. I'm gonna switch this to the positive for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Doing that is what brought you where you're at today.
True.
Because you've tasted so many different things. You're like, boom, I'm locked in now. I know exactly what my purpose is. I know exactly what I want to do. So you and I dude, it's so much, we're so much alike. It's crazy. I did the same thing. I was in like car sales. I was in gym industry. I was in
Yeah.
cell phone. I even worked at Rite Aid, Domino's Pizza,
Yeah.
like as a delivery boy when I was younger, HVAC, different sales jobs, and like constantly just always looking for something better. But finally it brought me to here, which I never thought I'd be doing painting, right? Like ever in my lifetime.
Yeah.
Um, and it's insane how it's like it brought us here. And I just literally the other day I was talking about this too. I was like, if I didn't make the decisions I've made actually just about 6 years ago, you guys wouldn't see the Joel you see today. No different
Yeah.
than you guys wouldn't see the Aiden you see today.
Mm-hmm.
So if that can resonate for you guys, understand something. Like once you make that decision and you're watering that grass and you're staying on that side, I promise you, yeah, don't get me wrong, It could take years to get to the goal you're trying to get to, but at least you have that vision, that pathway you'll never stop at. So, dude, Aiden, I love the fact that like, I enjoy this, man. It's so much fun with
This
you.
is good, right?
Yeah. We just start talking, man. I
Yeah,
love it.
it's good.
So, what's new in Aiden's world? What's coming up soon? Like, do you have anything coming up anytime soon, or anything that you're
Yeah.
working on that we don't know about and we can get excited about?
We are going to remaster my school community.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm gonna take that pretty serious. Especially, I think it's the way I've been moving, honestly,
Mhm.
because right now I have so many resources, so many
Yes.
outlying documents and systems and like all this stuff. Right? If you went into my where I keep all this stuff, you'd be like, dude, what are you doing? Why are you not promoting this like every single day, talking about blah blah blah?
Yeah.
And it's been so hard because I got so much going on. That's why I hired a VA to help me with some of the marketing of it and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I finally talked with somebody, and we're gonna pay him a fee, and we're gonna really get this thing going, get the strategy
Yes.
together, and I think it is a way for me to open up to the masses in a way, right? And
100%.
not be so locked into the people that are working with me because in reality, I kind of let my ego get in the way sometimes, right? Because what
Sure.
happens is I hop on a call with somebody and they may be the greatest fit for my services, but we don't vibe, right? And it's like
Mm.
we talked about that before, right?
Yep.
Sometimes you need, especially in our industry, working so closely and intimately with people, they kind of have to resonate with you in some way. It doesn't have to be a perfect match or anything like that, but like you just need to know that, hey, this guy's a positive energy he's bringing to me. I can feel like I can trust him with the info we're providing and stuff because we don't want it to go
Yes.
all over the place and whatnot. So it's like there are times where I second guess, do I want to work with this guy, even though he's willing to pay, blah, blah, blah. And I think this school community will allow me to not only reach more people, but get my ego aside and really focus on a little bit more. I'll still have the one on one, but a little bit more for like, hey, I'm hosting this live masterclass on this topic. Anybody a
Mhm.
part of the school can join. All the resources and things you've been kind of like watching as far as the videos and implementing, we're just going to dial it super in, answer all your questions. And it's going to be like one of those, I think it's just going to be awesome.
Bro, I'm excited about that because it's like that's something I don't want to do, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
and I am working on modules and stuff like that for certain things, but it's more like mindset, accountability, things like that. But I love that because now I can have another resource to send my clients to and be like, hey, go check out Aiden's school, dude. Sign up for whatever fee that is. And then this is how funny it is. Guys, understand something. Collaborations are number one. I'm
Mm-hmm.
always big about collaborations because like I'm not into all that stuff. Like I want to learn it. I don't want to
Yeah.
do it. Right. Aiden's into that stuff. So here's the cool part. How powerful is that? That like now I'm excited about his school so that I can be like, yo, Aiden, I'm probably going to sign up myself, have a membership on it. And then I know what modules to refer my clients to be like, hey, look,
Yeah.
Aiden's production rates, or I assume you're probably going to do certain things like that. Right.
Yeah.
And I could be like, dude, like go check out module 3 through 5 on Aiden's program, study that, and then I'll work on your mindset stuff to
Yeah.
keep you accountable so that you can hit these goals and you can keep winning. Right.
Exactly.
Like, how cool is that on collaboration? So, man, I'm excited for that. I can't wait for you to announce that and for us to help each other out. Right. Like, the community can use more of those programs
Yeah.
so that people can actually start dialing in their processes and systems and have access to it. Because really,
Yeah.
right now, I feel like people are holding on to everything like this. And it's like having a school community like that. That's going to be awesome, man. I'm
That's what I'm
excited.
saying. It's like, why try and, control kind of all the things you have? And it's like, put it out there and the people will gravitate to whatever
Mm-hmm.
they feel like they need, educate them. And then once they get access to it, they're going to want more. And they're going to say, damn, why didn't I have this a year ago? Why
Yes.
didn't I have this to make my life so much easier? You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean?
Or I
And
could
speaking
have
of,
had that
yeah,
for my sales guy, like,
exactly.
or my production manager that just came on board. I could have used this, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And speaking of collaboration, we almost collaborated on a client,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah.
We had a bigger client. He had a commercial painting operation. He was looking to break into the residential, and we were on we're on the cusp of closing that deal and getting
Yeah,
2 for 1. Could you imagine getting Joel and Aiden to
dude.
help you in your business, be temporary partners, and really uplift what you got going on? I mean, for more established organizations or people that just know where they're going, I think that's a huge opportunity and something that's real and it's available.
I appreciate you mentioning that because I completely didn't even think to mention that on the pod, but I think it's important because, man, it's like coaching on steroids. And the reason why I say that is because the systems are very important. I'm not going to negate that. Those are very important. And I've noticed something with my program, right? Like, I don't really talk systems because I'm like, I need you to fix you first before you can
Mm-hmm.
do the systems, right? So I am super excited for someone to literally hire us where you and I can just be like, hey, we're going to tackle this. And just to give some context to some people on this, we didn't move forward with that together because the customer just went a whole different route. He's like,
Sure.
hey, I looked more in. This is how dialed in you and I were on our proposal. We're like, hey, this is what you're going to get. This is what it's going to take. In order to get your business to XYZ, it's going to take X amount of expenses put in. And when he really put his numbers together, he's like, I don't know if I'm really ready to really take on a business of residential side when I'm doing pretty well in commercial.
Mm-hmm.
So he decided to not move forward purely out of that his alignment.
Yeah.
When we gave him the real data, when he was able to sit there and consume it and go, oh, this is actually probably not something I'm really interested in doing for me, just
Yeah.
as a business. So that's cool too, that we were able to provide that value that he was able to just go, I'm reflecting. I think it's just going to be too much more work that I need to when I'm doing this right now. I think I'm okay with this. We're like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
But if someone's out there that really wants that help, man, I'm excited. I'd love to hop on with Aiden and you guys and let's make some magic happen.
Dude, that's like the slam dunk of the century. If you want your business to guarantee be successful, if maybe you have some real estate or like you're doing well and you're like, let me get into this painting business, you have some liquid capital and you're like, let me make this to where I can not waste any time, put my money to the most efficient use and actually get everything done for me, like set up. And all I have to do is carry it through and just follow what we tell you. I
Yeah.
mean, that's
I
like a
wish I
seven
had that.
figure, you know what I'm saying? That's a 7-figure company waiting to happen and
Like
beyond.
quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Dude, I
Plus
love
all the
that you
other
say that.
things you're going to use in your other businesses or other ventures down the line, because you can use that as a vehicle to now sell, scale, franchise, whatever you want to do, because we have experience in all of those avenues.
Dude, that's a good point too. Cause like once you get those systems down and you open something else, even if it's not painting, it could be flooring or HVAC or any kind of contracting or any kind of business. You already have the systems in place. You just translate it to what you're doing next.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's very, I mean, you can't even put a price tag to that in my eyes. Right. And I wish I had
Super.
that day one. I would be, man, my life would have been so easy at that time. I would be
Dude,
like, yeah, just tell me what to do. Sweet.
it's insane how many resources are out there right now. People
Mhm.
like us, other people in the industry,
Absolutely.
the different things you can look up and buy into just to kind of quickly get to where you need to be and kind of help you in certain areas of your business. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like we talk about YouTube having like, all the knowledge you ever need it. But I mean, imagine people working with you directly to kind of, hey, save your time specifically to
Yeah.
you and curate it, dude. I mean, yeah,
100%.
I'm going to continue to hire coaches myself. I know you're, working with a few, you've been
Yep.
working with a bunch and you've seen what it has done for you, your life and your businesses. So, I mean, the proof's in the pudding and it's
Mhm.
just a matter of finding the right fit and the right timing for you.
I couldn't agree more, man. It's and my shift has been leadership, right? So it's been all my coaches that I work with now. It's just been purely leadership. They're in different industries, but it translates in everything we do. So I've been trying to get to their levels because they're just monsters, right? And I'm just
Yeah.
like, okay, I feel like I can resonate with people, and I have a different mission, right? Where it's not just painting. I want to be able to reach the masses in a different way, in the mental side, right? The mindset. But man, it's been such a blessing doing it through this vehicle, which is painting. And I tell painters all the time, I'm like, guys, it doesn't end here. One thing that my mentor taught me was painting was the stepping stone to his successes.
Yep.
And now he's in the real estate, and he's buying and selling real estate and making his riches that way. But it was because of painting, the structure, the consistency, the people, the things that come up that most people aren't trained to understand, right? He taught me that too. Like, one thing I want to share with you guys right now is he's always said, expect the unexpected. Like, I never used to think like that until I got into the painting world. I'm like, oh, you're right. Like, if I expect it before it happens, it's not going to bother me. It's not going to faze me. I'm going to make better decisions, and I'm going to feel very prepared for that. But if I sit here in this delusional world that it's not going to happen, every time something happens, I'm going to be upset. I'm going to be pissed. I'm going to be upset. Like, I'm going to feel like a failure. Right. So, but yeah, painting has been, dude, like, I love our community. I always repeat it. The best, dude. Like, I've met so many great people in this community. I feel so blessed. I feel so great. And, again, like, the blessing that I got to meet you, and look what we're doing right now. Like, people just need to understand the painting community has been amazing, and it's a stepping stone for other successes in your life. So don't give up. Keep pushing.
And
We've been there.
To paint your path,
Oh, yeah.
Amen.
That's right. I love it, man.
Bro. All right, man. We're just passing the hour mark. If you're still with us, go like, subscribe. Go check us out on all the socials, Paint Your Path Pod. And on YouTube, we're going to be the Paint Your Path Podcast. And we're on Spotify. So if you want to listen to just audio versions of our podcast, go on Spotify. Check us out. We're going to be posting new content on our Instagram. Go check us out. And shout out to everybody listening. And talk to you guys soon.
Peace.